I'm Detective James, and this is the cases the news forgot.
The call came just after midnight. I didn't pick up immediately. Some calls are routine, missing wallets, petty thefts, domestic squabbles. Others demand you. There's a tone, a pause, a hesitation in the voice that lingers even after the line goes dead. This one had it. "Detective James, we need your expertise," the voice said, calm but with an edge of fear beneath it. "It's unusual. No one else can explain it." Cape Hollow, the location, was remote. The lighthouse sat perched on cliffs that dropped straight into a roaring ocean below. One misstep, and you'd never be found. Ships were disappearing, not occasionally, regularly. Commercial vessels, fishing boats, private yachts. Radar showed nothing. Weather was fine. Mechanical failures, impossible, and yet families of the missing reported hearing voices over the foghorn, whispers of names they recognized, names of people long gone. I packed light and left immediately. By the time I arrived, the first rays of dawn streaked the sky with orange and gray, illuminating a lighthouse that leaned precariously into the cliff. The paint was cracked and peeling, the lantern dome coated in decades of grime, catching the light like a pale, unblinking eye staring out to sea. The wind was relentless, carrying the sharp tang of salt and decay. The ocean itself seemed alive, roaring, thrashing against the jagged rocks below. I met the keeper, Elias Monroe, at the entrance. He was thin, wiry, late 50s, with eyes sharp and alert, as if he had seen too much to ever fully sleep again. "They call it the Hollow Light," he said quietly. "Not officially, or do locals avoid it? They say it talks." I nodded. Ghost stories are part of my job, part of the landscape of the unusual cases I investigate. But there was something in his tone that lingered in the air. A subtle warning that made the hair on my neck stand on end. Inside, the office smelled of salt, old wood, and something I couldn't place. Something like fear, preserved in the dust of the floorboards. He handed me files, 3 commercial vessels, 1 private yacht, and a fishing boat, all vanished. Radar confirmed nothing. Mechanical failures impossible, no storms reported. And yet, people were missing, entire crews. The last recording came from Captain Daniel Rowe. His radio crackled with static, then a voice. "James, help me." I didn't know the voice, but the name. It struck a chord I couldn't explain. That night, I stayed in the lighthouse quarters. Fog rolled in from the ocean, thick, wet, almost tangible, curling around the walls and floorboards. It pressed against the windows and seeped under the door like a living thing. At precisely 2:03 a.m., the foghorn sounded. Not automated, deliberate, controlled. And then I heard it. A voice. My name. Whispered, almost from the walls themselves. I didn't answer. That's the first rule. Never acknowledge it until you understand it. I lay on the cot, eyes wide, listening to the wind, the foghorn, and the faint creaks of the old lighthouse. When I closed my eyes, I could see the cliff edge and the lighthouse beam cutting through the fog. It didn't rotate like a normal lighthouse. It moved with intention, sweeping over invisible targets below. Occasionally, faint outlines appeared. Ships. Silent, still. Figures on deck, frozen mid-step, hollow-eyed, staring into the light. By dawn, I realized the truth. This lighthouse wasn't guiding anyone. It was luring them, and it wasn't done with me. Morning brought more questions than answers. Elias and I walked the cliff edge. The wind tore at our clothes, and the ocean spray stung our faces. He pointed to a stretch of water where fog hung heavier, almost unnaturally. "Ships vanish here every time the fog rolls in," he said. "Some say the light takes them, calls them, and they go willingly." I frowned. "That's impossible." He shrugged. "Try telling the families that. Some come back changed. Others never come back at all." I stayed at the lighthouse, documenting every detail. The floors creaked, the walls moaned with the wind, and the air itself seemed heavier. Every step I took echoed unnaturally, as if the building was amplifying it, listening. Then, near midnight, it happened again. The foghorn sounded. But this time I saw movement in the lantern room, a shadow flickering across the massive lens. The beam swept toward the ocean, cutting through the fog like a knife. And I heard it again. Clear. My name. "Detective James, watch the light." The hairs on my arms stood on end. The voice. It wasn't just sound. It carried awareness, knowledge, presence. I didn't move. I didn't speak. But I understood something crucial. This was no ordinary lighthouse. This was alive in ways I couldn't yet comprehend. By dawn, exhaustion overtook fear. I slept fitfully, dreaming of hollow-eyed sailors frozen mid-step, staring into the beam that reached out across the fog. I woke with the taste of salt on my lips and the smell of brine lingering in the room. I knew the investigation had only just begun. By midday, the lighthouse revealed its first real mysteries. The beam didn't rotate like a normal lighthouse. It paused at odd angles, sweeping areas that didn't correspond to any known shipping lane. The effect was subtle, but unmistakable, almost as if it were scanning the ocean, searching for something or someone. Elias showed me the logbook. Entries spanned decades, written in different hands, some neat, some barely legible. The brigantine whispers at midnight. Fog thick, crew missing. Fog covers the cliff. Voices call my name. No one believes me. I saw the light pause. It waited for me. I almost ran. He looked at me with tired eyes. Most people ignore the light. Those who don't, they vanish. Some say it calls to them. Others say it takes them willingly. I frowned. Takes them? Are you serious? He shrugged. I've seen it with my own eyes, Detective. 3 disappearances last month alone. A fishing boat, a private yacht, and a small tour vessel. Radar? Nothing. Weather? Clear. But the sea, it's not right near this cliff. I stayed on the cliff edge that night, watching. Fog rolled like waves, hugging the rocks and obscuring everything beyond 20 feet. The lighthouse beam swept across the ocean, and for the first time I saw movement in the fog. Shadows. Figures standing on the water as if on invisible platforms. Sailors from ships reported missing weeks, months, even years ago. Their bodies, hollow, motionless, staring into the light. I grabbed my binoculars, but it didn't matter. Each time I looked, the shadows shifted slightly, almost aware of my gaze. And then, the beam paused, directly at me. My stomach dropped. I tried to move, to retreat, but my feet felt like they were sinking into the wet cliff grass. The wind died suddenly, leaving a heavy, unnatural silence. Elias appeared beside me, as if from nowhere. Don't look away. Once it knows you're watching, it remembers. Knows me? Remembers me? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He nodded. I've seen it before. Those who watch the light, it follows them, even if they leave the cliff. Some go mad, others vanish. Some never stop hearing it. The beam pulsed suddenly, brighter than any lighthouse should be. A low hum filled my chest. My radio crackled, and then I heard it again, unmistakable. "Detective James, follow the light." The words weren't coming through the radio. They were inside my head. My heart hammered. My hands shook. Suddenly, a shadow moved. One of the hollow-eyed sailors lifted a hand, pointed at me. The beam shifted. Its motion wasn't mechanical. It leaned, bending toward me, alive, aware. I stumbled backward, tripping over rocks. The wind whipped at my face, fog swirling, the ocean roaring below like some hungry beast. I could feel the pull of the beam, like it was reaching out, testing me, drawing me closer to the cliff edge. Elias grabbed my arm. "Run!" he shouted. I ran blindly, slipping on wet grass, scraping my hands against rocks. Behind me, I heard the faint crackle of voices. Sailors whispering my name over and over, growing louder with each step. I stumbled to the lighthouse doors, yanked them open, and slammed them shut. Inside, the lens of the lantern room rotated slowly, almost as if mocking me. The shadows outside had vanished, or perhaps they were waiting, just out of sight in the thick fog. By dawn, exhaustion and fear mingled into a cold certainty. This lighthouse was alive in a way I couldn't comprehend, feeding on the missing, the living, and anyone who dared to watch. I spent the morning documenting everything in detail. The beam patterns, the shadows, the sounds of the foghorn at odd intervals. Each file I saved made me uneasy. Every time I looked, it felt like the lighthouse knew I was observing, like it was aware of me. Elias sighed. "You're lucky. Most don't make it to the second night." I didn't respond. My mind raced. Each shadow, each whisper, each impossible movement of the lantern had chipped away at my skepticism. This wasn't superstition. This wasn't luck. Something beyond comprehension was at work. Night fell again. The fog was heavier than ever, curling around the building like tendrils of smoke. I decided to stay in the lantern room this time, recording everything. The lens reflected the fog, and for the first time, I noticed something terrifying. The beam seemed to stretch farther than it should, cutting impossible angles across the ocean. And then, directly below me, I saw a figure appear off the rocks, walking on the water as if gravity itself had bent. It was a Captain Rowe. Hollow eyes, staring up at me. The fog whispered again, louder this time, clearer. "Detective James, watch the light." I didn't move. I didn't speak. My body was frozen in instinctual terror. And the lighthouse. It waited. Night had fallen like a heavy curtain, and the fog rolled in thicker than ever, curling around the cliff like smoke from some unseen fire. The ocean's roar was a distant but constant pulse, like the heartbeat of something alive. I returned to the lighthouse with a single goal: observe, document, survive. The lantern beam cut through the fog, brighter than my eyes had ever seen, but it didn't move like a normal light. It hesitated, paused, and then swung in directions that made no mechanical sense. It was almost deliberate, as if it were scanning the ocean for something or someone. Then I noticed movement. Shadows on the cliff, shadows on the water. Sailors, hollow-eyed, frozen in mid-step, reaching toward the beam, their faces pale, twisted. The missing. All of them. They hadn't moved since the first night I watched. Until now. The fog thickened, seeping through cracks in the lighthouse walls. It didn't just move with the wind. It flowed, curling around my legs, rising up like fingers trying to hold me in place. My chest tightened. My breath came shallow. Then the beam shifted. It wasn't mechanical. It leaned, almost alive, targeting me specifically. I felt its pull like gravity, drawing me toward the cliff's edge. My hands clutched the railing as the wind tried to rip me off balance. A whisper. One that wasn't carried by the wind, but directly into my mind. "Detective James, come closer." I stumbled backward. My radio crackled violently, repeating my name over and over in static-laced voices. Then the shadows moved. Slowly at first, then faster. One figure, Captain Rowe, stepped onto the cliff edge, hollow eyes fixed on me. The lighthouse seemed to pulse with life, each rotation of the beam synchronized with my racing heartbeat. The fog thickened further, and I realized this wasn't just a light. It was aware. It remembered me from the night before. I tried to run, but the fog pushed back. It clung to my clothing, my skin, almost as if it had weight resisting my movements. My feet slipped on the slick rocks. I fell, scraping my hands, my knee burning. The beam swung closer, the wind screaming like a living thing. Elias's voice broke through my panic, faint but audible. "Run, James. Don't look back." I scrambled to my feet, staggering toward the lighthouse door. Behind me, the shadows surged, creeping closer, stretching impossibly across the rocks and water. The foghorn sounded, not as a warning, but a signal. The beam cut through the mist, reaching farther than any light should, touching the water, the cliff, the very air around me. And I understood something horrifying. It feeds on awareness. The longer I looked, the stronger it became. I slammed the lighthouse door shut, panting, bloodied, soaked from ocean spray and sweat. The shadows outside didn't vanish. They just waited. And the beam paused, pointed directly at the building. I backed away, trying to make sense of what I'd just seen. Every instinct screamed to leave, to flee Cape Hollow entirely. But I knew the truth. The lighthouse wasn't finished with me. It was marking me, watching me, feeding on me. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time itself seemed distorted inside the lighthouse. I documented everything. Beam positions, shadow movements, wind patterns, fog density. Every note felt insufficient, but every moment I stayed, I learned something crucial. The lighthouse manipulates perception. It bends reality to trap its prey. And then I saw it, a shadow separated from the rest. Rowe. His hollow eyes bore into mine. He raised a hand, beckoning, and the fog responded. Thick tendrils curled toward the doorway, like fingers reaching into the lighthouse to drag me out. I bolted. I didn't stop until I collapsed in the sand at the cliff's edge, gasping. The shadows receded with the fog, but the whisper remained, etched into my mind. Detective James, watch the light. I realized then that leaving the lighthouse didn't end the danger. The beam didn't just kill. It followed, it remembered, and it would wait. By dawn, I knew something critical. This wasn't a lighthouse, it was a predator, and I was its prey. I returned to the city expecting normal life. It didn't come. At first, I told myself it was fatigue, the stress of Cape Hollow, the wind, the waves, the isolation. But the signs were subtle and impossible to ignore. A fog-like haze appeared in my apartment window on rainy nights. The sound of waves sometimes echoed faintly in the hallways, I would glance at reflections, mirrors, windows, the darkened screens of electronics, and I could swear I saw a pale beam sweeping across the room, cutting through the darkness. The first night, I woke to the faintest whisper. Not through the window, not through the door, directly in my mind. Detective James, watch the light. I bolted upright in bed, heart hammering. My apartment was empty. No wind, no fog, no light. Yet the echo lingered. The words weren't carried by sound, or they were embedded in thought, impossible to ignore. Days passed. Every shadow seemed to stretch longer than it should. Every passing car on the street reminded me of the beam. Every foggy morning, I woke expecting to see the cliff, the lighthouse, the hollow-eyed sailors. I tried rational explanations, fatigue, stress, nightmares, but my instincts screamed differently. Then, the package arrived. No return address. Inside, a small recorder, still warm, as if it had been just used. I pressed play. Ocean waves, fog rolling over jagged cliffs, the lighthouse beam sweeping, a faint foghorn, and then my voice, whispering my name over and over. Detective James, watch the light. The timestamp on the recorder was the day before. I hadn't returned to Cape Hollow, hadn't even touched the files. I tried to delete it. Nothing worked. Every attempt failed. The voice on the recording seemed to react, distorting, twisting, growing louder. The fog in my apartment thickened, curling at the corners of rooms where it shouldn't exist. Sleep became impossible. Every dream was the lighthouse, the cliff, the beam. Hollow-eyed sailors drifting on the water, reaching toward me, calling my name. Each morning I woke drenched, smelling salt, feeling as if I had been standing at the cliff's edge for hours. The city became alien, the streets too quiet, the fog too thick. People walking past seemed ghost-like, and everywhere I went I felt eyes on me, watching. Not human eyes, something colder, older, patient, waiting. One night I tried to leave it behind. I packed a bag, drove miles away from the city, found a motel near the edge of the forest, thinking distance might help. I turned off my phone, closed my eyes, but the lighthouse found me. In the reflection of the window, I saw it, the faintest glow of a beam, cutting across the trees, slicing through the fog, and in the reflection, the outline of a figure, hollow eyes beckoning. Row, and behind him, others. Sailors from the missing ships, waiting, watching, patient. I realized the final truth. The lighthouse doesn't just call the living. It watches those who survive. It follows them, and it waits. Some nights I hear the faintest knock at my door. I never answer. Sometimes my own name whispers Norin from the fog curling beneath my blinds. I've checked locks, doors, cameras. Nothing. Yet the sound persists. I've tried leaving the city, tried moving across the states, tried to burn the files, delete the recordings. Nothing works. The lighthouse remembers. The beam remembers. And I am marked. The last file I saved disappeared from my computer, replaced by a single entry in handwriting I don't recognize. Detective James, watch the light. And I know the truth. One day the fog will come for me completely. One day, the cliff, the lighthouse, the beam, they will claim me as they claimed the others. Until then, I live in the shadow of it, constantly listening, constantly watching, always remembering. Because one thing is certain, the hollow light never forgets, and it never lets go.